The rain hammered against the windows of the Evergreen Lodge in Seattle, where the family had gathered for what was supposed to be a joyous occasion.
I,
Emily Carter stood just outside the grand banquet hall, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. At 35, I'd spent years biting my tongue, swallowing the barbs from my sister Brooke and our parents, all while they painted me as the family's quiet disappointment. But tonight, as I clutched the folder of evidence in my trembling hands, I knew the charade was over. The whispers I'd overheard earlier that day, Brooke laughing about how they'd redirected Grandma's money to her without a second thought, had been the final spark. I pushed open the door, the warmth of the room hitting me like a wave, and stepped into the light. Heads turned, but not in admiration. In confusion. Who was this version of me, dressed in a sleek black gown that hugged my figure, exuding a confidence they'd never seen? The baby shower for Brooke's first child was in full swing, pink and gold balloons floating like false promises, guests mingling with champagne flutes. My parents, Diane and Harold, beamed from the head table, toasting their golden daughter. Brooke, 30 and radiant in her designer maternity dress, her Instagram perfect life on full display, waved me over with that saccharine smile. Emily, you made it. We were worried traffic would keep you away again. Her voice dripped with the usual pity, as if my life as a librarian was some tragic footnote. I smiled back, but it didn't reach my eyes. Wouldn't miss it for the world. As I took my seat, the memories flooded in, slow and heavy, like the fog rolling off Puget Sound. Growing up in our suburban home in Bellevue, the roles were etched in stone from the start. Brooke was the star, cheerleader, prom queen, the one who turned heads with her effortless charm.
me,
I was the bookworm, the reliable sister who volunteered at the library after school, who got straight A's, but never the spotlight. Emily's so practical, Mom would say at family dinners, her tone laced with that subtle disappointment. Dad would nod, his eyes always drifting to Brooke's latest trophy or social media post. You're the smart one.
em Redemuter.
But it felt like a consolation prize. By high school, the favoritism crystallized. When Brooke crashed her car's senior year, totaling the BMW Dad had bought her for her 16th birthday, they replaced it within a week. No questions. No lectures. But when I needed $5,000 for college textbooks and supplies in 2009, fresh out of high school, Mom hesitated. We have to think about Brooke's acting classes. Honey, she's got real potential. I ended up working double shifts at the campus bookstore to cover it, my resentment simmering like a pot left on low. College only widened the gap. I majored in literature at the University of Washington, burying myself in books while Brooke flitted through community college, dropping classes whenever they bored her. She discovered Instagram in 2012, posting selfies and lifestyle tips, and suddenly she was building her brand. By 2015, with 20,000 followers, she quit her part-time job at a boutique and went full influencer. Mom and Dad couldn't stop bragging. Our Brooke's going places, they'd say at holiday gatherings.
Me,
I'd graduated with honors, landed a job at the Seattle Public Library, and was quietly paying off my student loans. Librarians are important, Dad would add half-heartedly, but his eyes lit up only when Brooke shared her latest sponsorship deal. The financial hit started small but grew. In 2017, Brooke needed $10,000 for a professional photo shoot setup to take her influencing to the next level. I loaned it to her from my savings. Family helps family, right? She promised to pay it back once the deals rolled in. Spoiler, they did. But the money never came my way. Instead, I got tagged in her posts. Shout out to my sis for believing in me. Family first. It stung, but I smiled through it. At Thanksgiving 2018, gathered around the oak table in our parents' home. The conversation turned predictable. Brooke's husband, Travis, a tech bro with a startup that somehow always needed seed money, clinked his glass. To Brooke, who's killing it with 50K followers now. Everyone cheered. Then Mom turned to me. And Emily, how's the library? Still shelving books. Her laugh was light, but it cut deep. Actually, I'm curating digital archives now, helping with community programs. Brooke waved her hand dismissively. That's adorable.
Eminência.
But seriously, have you thought about monetizing? I could give you tips. Travis snorted. Yeah. Turn that book nerd thing into a side hustle. I gripped my fork tighter, forcing a nod. Inside, the daggers twisted. What they didn't know, what I'd hidden meticulously, was that I wasn't just Emily the librarian. In 2014, frustrated with the lack of diverse indie books in mainstream stores, I'd started an online platform called Inkwell Reads. It began as a blog reviewing underrepresented authors. But by 2016, I'd turned it into a full e-commerce site, selling rare editions and curating subscription boxes. Sales exploded during the pandemic. People craved escapism. I hired a small team remotely, invested in a warehouse in Tacoma, and watched the revenue climb. But the real windfall came from a side invention, a custom app for book tracking and recommendations, which I patented in 2018. A major tech company licensed it in 2020, royalties pouring in quarterly. I diversified too, silent investments in 2 local coffee shops that doubled as bookstores, and a stake in a publishing startup. By 2023, my net worth hovered around $1.8 million. I lived simply, a cozy apartment in Capitol Hill. My old Subaru for reliability, not flash. Why hide it? Because I knew the vultures would circle. Brooke would borrow more. Parents would meddle. And suddenly they'd claim they'd always seen my potential. No thanks. I'd built this empire in the shadows. And it was mine. The breaking point crept up during a phone call in March 2024. I was at the library, organizing a poetry reading, when Brooke rang.
Inc.
Guess what? Travis and I are pregnant. Her excitement was genuine. And for a moment, I felt a flicker of joy. That's amazing, Brooke. But then, Mom and Dad are over the moon.
Oh.
And about that loan from years ago. With the baby coming, things are tight. You get it, right? I paused. The old anger bubbling. Actually,
No.
you owe me. She laughed it off. Come on,
Sis.
family shares.
Besides.
You're not exactly rolling in it.
Click.
That conversation lingered like a bad dream. Then came Grandma's passing in June 2024. She'd been my quiet ally, the one who slipped me books as a kid and whispered, "You're the one with depth." Emily. Her will left $20,000 to each grandchild, specifying mine for pursuing your passions, whatever they may be. At the reading, Mom teared up. We'll handle the distributions. Suspicion gnawed at me, but I trusted foolishly. Fast forward to the baby shower at Evergreen Lodge, September 2024. Earlier that day, I'd arrived early to help set up, only to overhear Mom and Brooke in the lobby. "We gave Emily's share to you for the nursery remodel," Mom said casually. "She won't mind. She's so low-key." Brooke giggled.
Totally.
"She probably thinks it's still coming." My blood turned to ice. Theft. Plain and simple. I slipped away, called my lawyer friend from college, and spent the afternoon printing evidence, bank transfers, texts mocking my boring life, emails where parents prioritized Brooke's whims over my needs. By evening, I was ready. As the shower wound down, gifts piled high, diaper cakes, designer strollers, I stood. Everyone. A moment. The room quieted. Brooke beamed, thinking it was a toast.
Oh.
It was to the truth. My voice echoed through the banquet hall, steady but laced with the years of pent-up emotion that had been building like storm clouds over the Cascades. Family is supposed to lift you up, not tear you down in the shadows, I began, locking eyes with Brooke, whose smile faltered just a fraction. The guests shifted uncomfortably, sensing the shift in the air. Mom's hand tightened on her champagne flute, Dad's face paling as he whispered, "Emily, not now." But it was now or never. I pulled out my phone, connecting it to the projector we'd set up for a slideshow of Brooke's pregnancy journey. Instead, the screen flickered to life with something far less celebratory, a scanned copy of Grandma's will. My name highlighted next to the $20,000 bequest. "This is what Grandma left me," I said, my words slow, deliberate, letting the weight sink in. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cousins,
Aunts.
Brooke's influencer pals with their phones at the ready. But it never reached me. Instead, it went to Brooke for her nursery remodel. I clicked to the next slide, a bank statement showing the transfer from the estate account to Brooke's. Gasps echoed. Brooke stood, her hand on her belly protectively. "Emily, what the hell? This is my shower." Her voice cracked, the perfect facade cracking with it. "Exactly," I replied, my heart racing but my resolve ironclad. "And what better time to address the lies that have defined our family?" The slides continued, each one a dagger-eyed forged in silence. Text messages from Brooke. "I'm still at that dusty library, lol. No wonder she's single." Emails from Mom. "We can't afford both girls' trips. Brooke needs the exposure for her career." Bank records of the $10,000 loan. Unpaid. With Brooke's Venmo history showing luxury purchases days after. The room grew tense, the air thick with unspoken judgments. Travis, Brooke's husband, shifted in his seat, his tech bro swagger deflated. He'd always treated me like an afterthought, cracking jokes about my bookish life at barbecues.
Now.
His eyes darted to the exits. I paused, letting the silence stretch, feeling the emotional undercurrent pull at everyone. This wasn't just facts, it was the raw ache of being overlooked, undervalued. "You all see me as the quiet one, the failure," I continued, my voice rising now. The damning emotions breaking free. The sister who didn't make it. But let's clear that up.
Click.
Financial statements appeared, not mine from the library job, but from Inkwell Reads LLC. Revenue graphs climbing to 7 figures. Patent documents for my book app. Investment portfolios showing stakes in Seattle's hottest indie cafes. While you've been pitying poor Emily, I've built this. A business worth millions. Royalties from an app used by readers worldwide. Partnerships with publishers. I drive my Subaru because I choose to, not because I have to. The revelation hit like thunder. Aunt Clara, always neutral, whispered loudly. I knew it. Diane always favored Brooke. Cousins nodded. Phones discreetly recording. Brooke's face twisted in disbelief. You're lying. This is jealousy because I'm starting a family and you're alone. Her words stung, but I met them head on. Alone? Or free from the toxicity you've all normalized? I turned to our parents.
Mom.
Dad, you stole from me. Legally, that's fraud. Emotionally, it's betrayal. Dad stood, his voice booming. Young lady, this is outrageous. We thought it best for Brooke. I cut in, the anger I'd suppressed for decades erupting. Always Brooke. Her weddings, her brands, her babies. What about me? The hall was chaos now, some guests slipping out, others frozen in fascination. My lawyer friend, who'd slipped in earlier, stepped forward with envelopes. "These are legal notices," she announced calmly, demanding restitution of the inheritance, plus damages for emotional distress, totaling $300,000. Brooke burst into tears, collapsing into Travis's arms. Mom's face crumpled, the social queen dethroned in her own court. "Emily,
How could you?" she wailed.
we're family." I felt a pang, but it was fleeting. Family doesn't steal.
Mom.
Family doesn't mock. I tried being the good daughter, the silent sister. But silence only enabled you. As I stepped down, the weight lifted, replaced by a fierce clarity. Cousin Lena approached, hugging me tightly. That took guts. We've seen the favoritism for years. Others followed, uncles, old family friends, offering quiet support. But the core fractured. Brooke glaring daggers. Parents huddled in shock. I left the lodge that night, the rain now a soothing rhythm, driving back to my apartment where stacks of books waited like old friends. The confrontation wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. Yet, as I lay awake, doubts crept in. Had I gone too far? The emotional fallout would be immense. But so was the freedom. Morning brought the storm's aftermath. My phone exploded with notifications, social media ablaze. Brooke's followers, over 80,000 strong, were turning. Clips from the shower circulated. Influencer sister exposed for family theft. Hashtags like family betrayal trended locally. Brands dropped her overnight, maternity wear sponsors. Lifestyle collabs citing values misalignment. She posted a tearful story, heartbroken by lies from someone I trusted. But the evidence was damning. Her empire crumbled. Parents called relentlessly. Voicemails swinging from fury. "You've destroyed us," to "Please, let's talk." "Honey." I routed everything through my lawyer, focusing on work. At the library, I curated a display on family dynamics in literature, ironic, but therapeutic. My boss noticed the spark in me. "You seem unburdened, Emily." I smiled, just finally speaking my truth. Inkwell Reads thrived. A major chain wanted to stock our boxes nationwide. I negotiated from strength, no longer hiding. 3 weeks later, Travis showed up at my warehouse unannounced, looking haggard in jeans and a hoodie, far from his polished self. "Emily, can we chat?" We sat in the break room, surrounded by boxes of books. "Brooke doesn't know I'm here." The shower. It blew everything up. He rubbed his temples. "Her career's tanking." The stress on the pregnancy. I waited, unmoved. I came to apologize. I bought into the narrative, you as the underachiever. I was a jerk.
Yes.
You were.
He pulled out a check.
"This is the $20,000 from Grandma. We didn't touch it. It's yours." I took it, the gesture small but symbolic. "Thanks. But apologies don't erase years." He nodded.
Fair.
"For what it's worth. Your parents. They're splitting." The secrets came out. Mom's shopping addictions funded by Dad's hidden accounts. The news hit hard. Their marriage. A facade like everything else. I felt sorrow, not satisfaction. I'm sorry it came to this. But inside, it validated everything. The divorce papers arrived via courier 2 months post-shower. A stark reminder that actions ripple far beyond the initial splash. Mom moved into a condo in downtown Seattle. Her social calendar suddenly sparse as country club friends ghosted her. Dad retreated to a cabin in the Olympics, emailing me sporadically. "I failed you."
Eminencia.
Didn't see the imbalance. His words carried regret. But rebuilding trust would take time. Brooke, meanwhile, pivoted desperately on social media, rebranding as a real talk mom, sharing family struggles. But authenticity rang hollow. Followers dwindled to 30,000. She took a part-time gig at a boutique, styling outfits. Irony not lost on me. The lawsuit churned forward, depositions revealing ugly truths. Brooke admitted under oath to the mocking texts, claiming sisterly teasing. Parents confessed to the inheritance redirection, justifying it as practical. My lawyer dismantled their defenses. Evidence airtight. We settled out of court for $250,000, restitution plus pain. I donated half to literacy programs for underserved kids, turning poison into purpose. Life normalized, but transformed. I bought a modest home in Queen Anne, with a sunlit reading nook overlooking the city. No mansions, authenticity over flash. Inkwell expanded, a physical pop-up store in Pike Place, buzzing with events. I dated casually, a fellow book lover from the library. No rush for the fairy tale Brooke chased. Yet, the emotional scars lingered. Holidays approached without invites. I spent Thanksgiving volunteering at a shelter, grateful for chosen family. Cousin Lena hosted a small gathering, where stories flowed, others sharing how the favoritism had silenced them too. You broke the cycle,
She said.
Healing came in waves. 6 months later, a letter from Brooke arrived, handwritten on simple stationery. Emily, I can't undo the past. The baby, a girl, is due soon. I see now how I hurt you, blinded by my own insecurities. Mom and Dad enabled it, but I chose it. I'm sorry. No demands, just remorse. I stared at it, tears welling. Forgiveness? Not yet, but a crack in the wall. I replied briefly, take care of her. Break the pattern. The birth announcement came via text from Dad, a photo of little Ava, innocent and new. A pang hit, aunt by blood, stranger by choice. Would bridges rebuild? Time would tell. One evening, sorting Grandma's old books I'd inherited, the real ones, not money, I found a note tucked in a first edition Austen. To Emily, my quiet storm. Never dim your light for others' comfort. Her words, a balm. I'd honored them that night at the lodge. The journey from overlooked to empowered wasn't linear. Doubts crept in quiet moments. Was public exposure too harsh? But the alternative, eternal silence, felt worse. I'd claimed my narrative, and in doing so, questioned theirs. What defines family, blood or respect? The answer, haunting, echoed in my newfound peace. As winter blanketed Seattle in a soft gray hush, the echoes of that fateful baby shower began to fade into something more reflective, like the mist lifting off Lake Union at dawn. I'd throw myself into work, the library's winter reading program a welcome distraction. Kids' eyes lighting up over stories of underdogs triumphing. It mirrored my own arc, a quiet reminder that resilience blooms in unexpected places. But family ties, severed as they were, tugged persistently. Dad's emails evolved from apologies to anecdotes, fishing trips, reflections on his own overlooked dreams as a young accountant, always deferring to Mom's ambitions. I see now how I projected that onto you girls, he wrote one December night. Brooke got the glory. You the burden. I responded cautiously, sharing snippets of my life, a successful book launch, a hike in the Cascades, small steps toward mending.
Mom,
however, remained a ghost, radio silence, save for a forwarded article on family reconciliation from a mutual friend. Her pride, a fortress. Brooke's updates came indirectly through social media glimpses, Ava's first smiles, motherhood posts laced with vulnerability. Learning to let go of perfection, one caption read. Was it genuine? Hard to tell. But the desperation of her influencer days seemed softened. Travis, surprisingly, reached out again via email. Hey Emily, Ava's christening is next month. No pressure, but you'd be welcome. Attached, a photo of the baby, her tiny hand clutching a book. Coincidence? Or olive branch? I deliberated for days. The emotional weight heavy. Attending meant facing them, risking reopened wounds. Skipping meant perpetuating the divide. In the end, I went for Ava, the innocent bridge. The church in Bellevue was quaint, sunlight filtering through stained glass like fragmented memories. I slipped in back, heart thudding. Brooke spotted me during the ceremony, her eyes widening, then softening with unshed tears. After, in the reception hall, she approached, Ava cooing in her arms. You came. Her voice was small, stripped of artifice. For her, I said, gently touching the baby's cheek. She's beautiful. We stood in awkward silence, the room buzzing around us. Then, I'm seeing a therapist, Brooke admitted. Unpacking a lot. The favoritism. It messed me up too. Made me entitled. I nodded, the admission a crack in my armor.
It did.
But owning it is a start. Mom hovered nearby, finally approaching. Emily. One word. Loaded. No apology. But her eyes held regret. Dad joined, hugging me tightly. Proud of you, kiddo. The afternoon passed in tentative conversations, no deep dives, just surface healing. Ava's giggles bridged the gaps. Leaving, I felt lighter, not fully reconciled, but open. Months later, spring brought renewal. Inkwell hit a milestone, national distribution deal. I celebrated quietly with friends, toasting to independence. Family dynamics shifted slowly, group texts emerged, neutral ground like sharing recipes or baby updates. Brooke repaid the old loan in installments. Unprompted. Building trust, her note said. The lawsuit money, fully dispersed, funded scholarships for library kids. But the true legacy was internal, confidence that weathered storms. One rainy afternoon, echoing that lodge night, I sat in my home library, Grandma's note framed on the wall. The question lingered, can broken families mend? Or do some fractures add character? I'd chosen mending, but on my terms. Empowerment wasn't in the exposure, but in the choice to rise above. Summer sun warmed Seattle streets as I walked to the library. The city alive with possibility. A year since the shower. Life had woven new threads from old tatters. Dad visited monthly. Our bond strengthening over coffee talks about books and regrets. I wish I'd spoken up sooner, he'd say. Mom thawed gradually. A awkward lunch leading to more. I was wrong, she finally admitted over salads. Blinded by appearances. Brooke and I navigated sisterhood anew. Ava's first birthday a neutral celebration. Laughter tentative, but real. Thanks for giving us a chance, Brooke whispered as we watched the toddler smash cake. Travis, reformed, even collaborated on a book app update for parents. Not perfect, but progress. My empire grew. Inkwell opened a flagship store, bustling with readers. I spoke at conferences on entrepreneurship, sharing veiled versions of my story, inspiring others to claim their worth. Romantically, things bloomed with the book lover. Slow and steady. No rush for rings. The haunting question evolved. What if I'd stayed silent? Would resentment have consumed me? The confrontation, brutal as it was, sparked growth for all. In quiet moments, I reflected on the core. Family isn't infallible. It's forgeable. Value yourself first, and the rest aligns. Or doesn't, and that's okay too. As I closed a book that evening, Grandma's words echoed. Never dim your light. I'd ignited mine, illuminating paths for others. The victory? Not in wealth or revenge, but in authenticity. They thought me dim, but I was the flame all along.